Hey y'all, it's Chris from Front Sight. It's getting close to that time for me to go on my annual hunting trip. Every year, some friends of mine and I go up to a buddy's house. He's got a big piece of property in South Carolina, and we'll just go sit every morning and every night and just wait for the deer. Sometimes we see something, sometimes we don't. I have shot my first deer up there. It was several years ago, but I got one deer in my life so far. Not a big hunter. I do enjoy it. I love it. I just don't have time or the opportunity or the place to do it as often as I would probably like to. And life has been busy. So I want to talk about some tools that I've used, maybe some good things to have with you when you go, and maybe what kind of rifle or what kind of weapon systems you want to use to hunt, and then get into, like, again, some of the gear that I carry, and things like that. All right, so first let's talk about gear. So when I first went hunting, I was probably 11 years old. My uncle took me right after Christmas, and we were up in Pennsylvania looking for whitetail, and we went up in the mountains. I think it was muzzleloading season, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. But we went up there and we spent all morning, really, really early in the morning to get up there. And we spent all morning and part of the day just sitting there waiting for deer, walking around, tracking, seeing some tracks, different things like that. And then, unfortunately, we didn't see anything, so we left for the day. But that was probably one of the most fun experiences of my childhood. Getting to go out there in the woods with my uncle and just wait. I love the woods. I'm good in the woods. I really love being out in nature. Um, I love it. I prefer it more than being in the city. If I could live out with a big piece of property, I would probably do that, because it's just enjoyable to go for a walk in the woods, walking around, looking at nature, just being out there. It's almost rejuvenating for me. But I really enjoyed that opportunity I had with my uncle, and so fast forward 27-ish, 28-ish years, finally getting to go hunting again. So I want to talk about gear. When I went when I was a kid, all I had was an orange beanie. That's it. I had jeans and a jacket or whatever, nothing crazy. Nowadays, obviously, you want to blend in a little bit more to your environment. It is a good idea if you're hunting on public land with other hunters to wear hunter orange, right? That blazer or whatever they call it, that bright orange. That's a good thing. But if you're out there with friends on private property and have to worry about all that, then obviously just regular old camouflage is fine. You don't have to go out there and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on camo. That's really not necessary. All you really need is, I got most of mine from Walmart, a pair of pants and a jacket, and I got a long sleeve undershirt. And that works just fine for me. Never had a problem. Um, it works great. I've had the same stuff for several years now, not a problem. So when you're talking about camouflage, don't get too excited and blow a couple $100 on camo, right? Save that money for hunting rifles or scopes. So let's talk about what you should probably carry when you go hunting. Obviously, some type of water source, right, or hydration source of some sort would be good. You don't want to be out there for too long without some type of hydration source. Obviously, what you're wearing is maybe some type of vest with extra ammunition or whatever. That's also good. It's not necessary, but it's good. I don't carry a compass. I have in the past carried a GPS. Where I go now, I don't really need that because I know where I'm going in the woods. That's not really a big deal. But if you do have a problem, or say you go somewhere and you don't know really where you are, then you're not as familiar with that land, you definitely want to carry some type of GPS, or if you're old school like me, a map and a compass. I love a topographical map and a compass. I can get anywhere with those two things. But it is 2025, and a lot of people have not been trained in land navigation like I have. So you might want to take a GPS or something like that. Smartphone works real well. There's apps out there for that as well. You can download and you can see where you are, where you're going, where you've been, that kind of thing. So those things are good too. But just remember, a lot of that stuff dies. So carry an extra battery pack, or extra batteries, or have a charger of some sort that you can plug into your phone and charge your phone up. That would be helpful as well. So carrying some type of way to track where you are, where you're going, also very helpful. So let's talk about guns and gun accessories or firearm accessories. So what do you want to carry? Well, the first thing, and when I go with my friends, I don't typically do this, but it may be a good thing if you're in a location that may be prone to mountain lion, bear, or any other type of predatory animal. You might want to carry a sidearm as well. I say that because I've seen a lot of videos of dudes sitting up in a tree stand, and all of a sudden they turn around, they got the rifle here, and they turn around and there's a bear behind them. And it's very difficult to maneuver and take a shot. Where you can just draw a pistol And if you need to defend yourself, you can with that. So that is practical, right? You can carry something like that. And the caliber that you want to carry is going to vary based on what you're out there, defending yourself against. But I have carried a 1911 out in the woods with me before. I wanted to shoot the hell out of a spider that was hanging in front of me one time, but I didn't do it. I was very tempted. I will burn that little bastard down, I'll tell you that. But carry a sidearm if you're out there in a place like that where you may run into some type of predatory animal. That might be a good idea. Now, we're talking about rifles. There's a lot of different rifle makes and models out there. There's a lot of different calibers out there. It's crazy how many different types of guns there are in this world, and it's actually very, very cool because you can customize, get one that you like specifically. I had a Remington 700 for a very long time. It's a thin barrel, nothing crazy, just a hunting rifle. And that's what I shot my first deer with. And there was nothing special to it. It was just a black polymer stock with, the regular old action and a Leupold scope on it. So nothing crazy. And you don't have to go crazy with it. It's a 308. I'm shooting white-tailed deer. They're here in South Carolina. They're a little bit smaller than they are in other parts of the country. So I'm not looking for anything crazy. So 308 works just fine for me. In fact, it might be a little overpowered depending on the size of the deer I'm shooting anyway. So that is something you want to think about. Find a rifle. Well, if you're talking about rifles, find a rifle specifically that is suitable for you, the right length, the right barrel size, the right, if you want a match grade barrel, if you want just a thin barrel for hunting rifles, not a big deal. Remington makes a fantastic rifle. They always have. I'm not sponsored by Remington. I would love it if I was, but I'm not. So just keep that in mind. That's a good opportunity to find something inexpensive. And I think I bought my hunting rifle for less than $600 back in the day. So nothing crazy there. So what kind of accessories should you have on your hunting rifle? Well, a lot of people will tell you you're going to spend more for your optic than you will for the rifle. And for the most part, that's pretty much true. However, it's not absolutely necessary. If you're shooting inside of 100 yards or 200 yards, and a really inexpensive scope, about $300 or less, should do you justice. Now, I'm not saying go to Walmart and get a aim point, whatever, just something you put on a BB gun. I wouldn't do that. But you don't have to spend over $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 for a scope, because you can absolutely spend that kind of money on a scope and they all do pretty much the same thing, right? Inside of 100 yards. Now, if you're looking to go big game hunting or you want to shoot something outside of 600 or something, absolutely, if you can afford to go do something like that, you could probably afford to buy a scope that would go on a rifle, and it probably wouldn't be a 308. But we're talking 30-30, 7 mag. We're talking a much larger caliber rifle as well. So if you're going hunting and just regular old deer hunting, and you just get regular Remington 700 308, then something inexpensive will do. Now, I have put a Vortex Diamondback on my hunting rifle, and it does a great job. I actually have to go back and make sure re-verify 0, and we'll talk about 0 here in just a minute. But I want to make sure that it's seated and it functions properly. If you don't know or have never put a scope on a rifle before, ask somebody that has or that knows what they're doing. A lot of times people will put it on there and they don't get it tightened down properly, or they try to over tighten it and they shred the screws. So a lot of problems there. So just make sure you get somebody who knows what they're doing to put it on there, and also ask them to bore side it if you can, because that'll save you some ammunition and some headache later on when you go to zero that rifle. All right, so before we talk about zeroing your rifle, let's talk about customization of rifle. So there are some stores or companies out there that sell customizable parts for different type of weapons. And you have to make sure that when you're buying a custom piece, that it's going to fit your specific rifle. So as an example, I have a Remington 700 308. I already told you that. But I also own a Remington 783. Now, so you're saying, what's the difference? Well, there's a few little differences here and there. The trigger that came with the one with the 783 is a different trigger than the one that comes with the 700. The 700, if you get the original trigger, those things are fantastic. But I will tell you this, customizing the 700 and customizing the 783, the parts do not match up because they are different rifles. So make sure that when you get, whether it be a buttstock or whatever, that you know what you're getting into. And again, you get someone that knows how to put it on there or put it together. So the first customization I made when I bought my 783 was to the buttstock. So this is a custom buttstock that I have that I put on my 783. I really like it. It's made of wood. It's gray and tan. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the feel of it. It doesn't add a whole lot of weight to the rifle, but at the end of the day, it's only a 16-inch barrel. It's a much shorter barrel than what I used on my Remington 700. And so it is also threaded, by the way. So if I ever wanted to put a suppressor on here, I could absolutely put one on there. But for a hunting rifle, not so sure I'm going to do that. So this thing works pretty well. I've only shot it once or twice, but I need to make sure I re-verify my zero. So again, customizing these things, because this is wood, if the measurements may not measure up completely right. So you might have to do some dremeling. You might have to clean up, especially the inside where the magazine well is. You might have to fix that up a little bit. That's what I had to do, and it's just fine now. Just very, very minute details. But again, make sure you know who you get someone that can work on those rifles for you, and it doesn't mess up your stock. So real quick, this is the stock that actually came with the 783. Again, it's just one of those rubberized polymer, hard polymer on the inside, rubberized coating on the outside stocks. Nothing special about it. But I mean, straight out of the box, these rifles will shoot very, very well. You don't need to do any of this changing of parts and stuff. That they will shoot very, very well. But this is just the first thing that I customized when I bought mine. So I told you about my 700. I didn't. I'm still trying to find the stock for that sucker, but I have my action, my barrel. So again, this is the barrel to my Remington 700 308. It's a much longer barrel than what that 783 is. It's a pencil barrel. And again, taking this off of the action is very, very difficult. And I don't suggest doing it unless you know how to do it, like an armorer, or you have someone else like a gunsmith to do it for you. Okay. These actions, these triggers especially, are really, really good triggers. They're in a lot of different bolt guns all across the country. Remington, especially in law enforcement. Law enforcement typically went with the Remington 700 for their sniper rifles, and these triggers are just fantastic. You can adjust them. I don't suggest making much of an adjustment to them, but they can be made or adjusted to where it's almost a hair trigger. So unless you know what you're doing, be very, very careful, or unless you know what you're doing, don't do it. But if you know what you're doing, please be very, very careful what you're doing when you're making any adjustments to this trigger or to this rifle in particular. Lastly, let's talk about zeroing your rifle. So if you've never zeroed a rifle before, it's a very good idea to learn how to do it prior to doing it. You're going to save a lot of ammunition. You can get a bore sight and with a laser and sight it in a little bit, and then you can verify that zero or make small adjustments at a greater distance. I'll get into that in just a second. Zeroing a rifle. So I've seen a lot of videos of people that throw a scope on a rifle, go hunting. There's a specific video of a guy shooting down power lines and at a really huge buck, and he misses every time. And it's probably because he never really zeroed his rifle. Because I can't imagine how you would miss a deer. The deer stood there for 3 rounds, and then he finally took off. I'd be angry. But make sure you know how to zero your rifle first, right? So what I typically do with my Remington 700 or the 783 is I will bore sight at 50, just so I can see the laser. Because the laser comes out, gets on a piece of paper, and if you can't really see the laser, it's kind of hard to bore sight it, right? So I start off at 50, and if I can see it just fine, I'll move back with, especially with a scope rifle, I'll move back to the 100. And I will zero my rifle, my hunting rifle, at 100 yards. For a 308, 100 yards is probably one of the better distances to zero your rifle. Some people might argue different distance. That's fine. Everyone's got their own cup of tea. I prefer 100 yards, and that's just me. Because I know anything inside of 100, because I don't shoot that far off. I'm not looking to shoot at 2,000 meters. Anything inside of 100 will be just below the crosshair, and anything outside of 100 will be most likely just above it for a short period of time. But we're only talking about a couple of inches. So when you zero your rifle, know what your zero is, understand how the ballistics of that weapon system work, and you will, if you know where to aim on the deer, you won't have any problems, right? So just keep that in mind. Know where you're zeroing it, how far back you're zeroing it at, your distance, and understand the ballistics. So when you do take that shot on that trophy buck, you're not going to miss. All right, so I brought up hunting because obviously in 2 weeks I'm going on a hunting trip. It's only a couple days, but it's a really good time to get out there with the guys, hang out, just have some guy time, get into the woods, look for some deer, and just get away from the world for a little bit. Again, there's a lot of craziness been going on lately, and so it's just really good just to get away and and get out there with the guys and just have some good quality guide time. If you ever are looking for a place to go shoot, if you're looking for a place to go hunt or a fishing charter or things like that, that's what Front Sight was also created for. We added guided hunting properties, fishing charters, and things like that because we want people to have the opportunity, not just for shooting sports, but for hunting as well, to go out there with your family, with your kid, son or daughter, and or your spouse. Take them out hunting with you and just enjoy the time together, away from all the social media nonsense, away from all the craziness of society, and find you a deer. Remember, you got to find a place to process it, right? Because you're not going to shoot it and leave it. You have to take it with you. But make sure that you have a good place to process it to. But it's good to get away, and Front Sight is there really to provide a guide for everyone that is firearms friendly, right? Anyone that wants to learn more about guns, anyone wants to learn more about hunting, it's there for that, to build that community together so we can talk, have that conversation, and really kind of have these good ideas passed amongst each other and hold each other accountable. Because at the end of the day, we don't want people out there putting bad information. So Front Sight is there to help kind of make sure the information is correct and good to go. Now, we will not take down information unless it's a complete lie or get political, things like that. We don't want that, right? We just want good information passed on Front Sight, on the social media side of it, to ensure that people have the opportunity to learn about guns and gun safety, to learn maybe where they can go hunting or fishing, to find out where they can go purchase a firearm or get it worked on, or who can teach them to carry said firearm, right? That is what Front Sight was created for. So if you're seeing this video and you haven't gotten on Front Sight, the app yet, the app is available. It's available on the web. It's https://app.frontsightApp.com. I'll put the link down in the description below. Just make sure you give it a check. Sign up. Be one of the first people on the brand new social media site that is not going to throttle people for talking about guns, because it was specifically built for people like you and me. So, looking forward to getting you on there. I hope you learned something. Please like, subscribe. Go to our store, our merch store at frontsightApp.com. Click on store. Get yourself a t-shirt, a hat, hoodie, whatever. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Welcome to the revolution. Welcome to Front Sight.